Hello and welcome to another episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. Today I have with me Tibo. Hey Tibo, everything good?
Hey, hey, Tiago.
Thank you so much for accepting this invitation, man.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I found out about you on Twitter. I've been trying to grow my Twitter presence for some time.
It's very tough. In,
Yeah.
in my case, during 8 years, nothing really happened, and in
Whoa.
the last 8 months, it has been really crazy.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was about to say. So I found you, and you have I think now 13K followers. That's correct?
Yeah,
And then I saw that you have also a lot of experience with startups. You built a bunch of them. You also got some learnings from the ones that didn't work out so well. So yeah, I would like to just today discuss with you the process of idea to a business. But first of all, I would like for you to introduce yourself to the listeners. Who is Tibo?
so I am an entrepreneur for at least 10 years,
Okay.
bootstrapping and doing a lot of different projects. I'm mostly a tech guy, even if I did both an engineering school and a business school.
Mm-hmm.
Very early, I understood that it was way better for my career and for myself to just start as an entrepreneur. So very early, I created my first startup with two people, and it was just the start. We succeed once, we crashed a few other, we succeed again, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today.
And did you end up working in for someone else, or did you immediately start building your own companies?
I did I had four different jobs before starting as an entrepreneur, so I know a little bit
Okay.
about it. And after I crashed my last startup in 2019, I joined a very fast growing startup as a CTO, and there I was an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is the job where I earned the most money in my career, but again, I didn't have my full freedom.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Mm-hmm.
after a little bit more than a year, I quit.
And do you think it's important for young entrepreneurs to also have some experience working for others?
I do, because a lot of people on Twitter will try to convince you that being an entrepreneur is the only choice that makes sense, but it doesn't. Everyone is different, and it might be good for you to be an employee and to have some sort of stability. Being an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur is hard, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, in my case, it really helps to have some savings also from my side. Before I also quit my job, and now I'm trying to focus only on my own projects. But it really helps to have some money on the side and a runway. Otherwise, I would be definitely freaking out.
Exactly.
And okay, so as I said in the beginning, I think it's nice to go, since you're an expert in this and you have a lot of experience. I would love to go with you from the full process. From having an idea to start making money. So let's start with having ideas. So what's your process to have an idea and to evaluate if it's something you want to work on or not?
So I think a lot of people consider ideation as a process where you just think about stuff, like you are in front of a whiteboard, and you just write ideas and then select it, etc. It can definitely help, but I'm very pro for a different approach, where I think you get most of your good ideas by doing stuff and publishing and sharing stuff. Like I have I had most of my ideas building and failing at another project. But just the fact that you build something and you share it to actual users, they will tell you that okay, no, this is not what I want, but what I
Right.
want is this, because my real problem is a little bit deeper. It's actually this. And then you got a way better idea to work on.
Right. But I guess for developers that's easy, right? To immediately start building. But what if you're not the developer? What if you're a designer or a marketeer? You cannot like have an idea and build an MVP, right?
I think we are very lucky to be in a time where it starts to getting possible.
Right.
I mean by that, like designers and marketers can build fully automated solutions just with no-code tools like Zapier's,
Mm-hmm.
or they can just try to build an agency model just by faking that you have a very complex algorithm. You can do everything by hand at the beginning, but
Right.
most of people are not willing to do the job of doing the job by hand. If you do, you will grow and learn 10 times faster.
You think that it's better to immediately start doing, so you don't do any like market analysis or identify a problem that you're solving. You don't take any time to figure those things out. You immediately start building.
This is exactly what I think. I think you need to be prepared by the fact that probably your first ID and your second one is gonna fail, and you need to know that, but you have to do it anyway because it's the only way to truly understand the markets and to find the real problems that your user have, because all the surface problems,
Mm-hmm.
they are too easy to grasp. So if it's still here, it's for a good reason. It means that it's not a real problem, or all the available solutions are way enough to solve
Right.
it.
Right.
So you need to get the real deep problem.
So can you give an example of one of your projects that you started the most scrappy, most simple way? Does something come to your mind?
Yeah, sure. So one thing that seemed like a good idea was something like um, so you have a new project and
Right.
you want to market it, you want to communicate about it, and so you want to use communities to communicate about your project.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought about building a search engine for communities, like subreddits, Telegram servers, Discord,
Yeah.
Slack servers.
It's a great idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like a great idea. So you would just like input something like fitness, and you would find all the communities talking about fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And we built that very quickly. In less than a week, we had a prototype, and it's actually available. It's productlift.ai.
Okay.
But it didn't work. It didn't work because I think for two reasons. First of all, it's a product that you might need only once or twice or maybe 3 times, but not every day.
Right.
Second reason is at the time when you will need it, you will use it, you will get on the communities, and then you will realize that it doesn't work. It doesn't work to just go on the communities, just leave your post and then leave.
Right. Yeah.
Because people need to truly know you, because they need to trust you. So it seems that we were solving a problem, but the solution itself was not really helpful.
Right. And so how do you decide to terminate it? It's like, was it because you didn't have enough traffic? How did you decide that?
So it really matters. What really matters is the conversion from people getting on our websites to the number of people actually paying. I'm a strong believer of the ID validation needs to grow through payments, because if people pay, it's the ultimate validation.
Right.
And very early on the project, the traffic that you get is really early adopters, people that are very enthusiastic about new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
If those people are not paying, it means that your idea is shitty. Because I think we have a misconception of how your conversion is going to evolve. It's actually getting down. It's not getting better. Of course, you will improve your products, you will improve your landing page,
Yeah.
but you will also get the traffic quality will diminish over time.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of people that you get very early is very high because it's supposed to be people for whom
Makes sense.
you perfectly solve their problem.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I truly understand that point, and it's super interesting to think about it. But like, if you're building an MVP, right? So it's the first very scrappy version, just to see if there's people more or less interested. I mean, I remember the first time I built Change It. I totally subscribe with your theory there. And my Change It is, by the way, a climate change app that I'm developing. And for me, the first version was basically a list of actions people could take and the CO2, the impact of CO2 of each action. And it was so simple. It was just to see if people would be interested, but like, people would not pay for it, right? Like, if you're building something very simple, what would make you think that people would pay for it? Maybe they would be interested with a couple of more features, but if the features are not there, would they pay for it?
So that's a very interesting question. I'm not sure about getting the truth here, but I do think that it works the other way. So if no one is paying, it doesn't mean for sure that your idea is bad. But if someone is paying, it means for sure that your idea is good.
True. Good point.
And I truly think that like for example, Tweethunter, it started actually in February with a totally different idea.
Okay.
Started with just tweet generation, and the number of products around tweet generation that I publish is crazy. I think I did at least 4 or 5 before getting to Tweethunter.
Right. And by the way, sorry to interrupt. Tweethunter is I guess one of the projects you're working now, and I've used it. It's amazing, and it basically is based on your Twitter profile. It suggests you similar tweets that had a lot of engagement, so that you can take ideas for your own tweets, right?
Yeah, the funny thing is that we started the year with my associates telling ourselves that we would build one project per month, and we did until May. In May, we released the Tweethunter, and then since this day, we never had time to work on a different project because just the growth of Tweethunter is so crazy that we have a huge list of things to do every day.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
especially because Twitter now they're investing in so many great features. It seems that it's reincarnating, and it's such a great platform. And so you have the idea. By the way, I'm really loving this theory of that. It makes total sense. I mean, if someone pays from the idea, it means that it's really good. How do you reach to your first users?
So I think there are a few ways. First of all, so my associate Thomas has become really good at doing it through Reddit. So what he does is he built a GIF or a very short video of like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And he posts it on a very specific subreddit, and he tries to be very appealing with his title. And after like maybe 20 failures, he learned how to do it properly. And then by this process, we try to redirect people to a waiting list where people leave their email address. And then that's the first way for us to try to analyze if people are just interested in this topic.
So you don't even have the product yet, you just have kind of a landing page.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, exactly.
So that is actually before asking for money.
Exactly.
Right. So first you do this. If there's not enough engagement, so okay, this is really interesting because I've done exactly the same. I found that Reddit it's a great platform to test. There's so many communities, and normally they are very engaging. And so I also have done this. My question is, how do you know that if the reason why people are not coming to your product and clicking, because for me it could be two reasons. First of all, they are not leaving the email address because they don't like the product. Second of all, we are failing on our marketing. We are failing on the gifs we are using on Reddit or the title we are using. How do you distinguish these two?
That's the super hard question. So I think we don't do it once. We do it maybe 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, just by doing a new GIF or a new post, or try a new platform than Reddit. But basically, it works a little bit like payment. It's like, if you have nothing, you don't really know if it's the ID that's bad or the material is bad. But if you do have 200 signups, just know.
Right. Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, that's a great theory. Like instead of going reverse the coin, it's like you don't
Exactly.
know what's the reason why it's not working, but if it's working, then you know it's good.
Exactly.
Wow.
One other thing to find your first people is, I'm a big fan of this approach. It's the audience first approach, and this is what we did with
What is that?
So from day one, from January, before saying that we will do one project per month, we defined a big problem that we want to solve and a big target audience. So we said that we want to target makers and creators, and we want to help them find users. And then every project that we built was supposed to talk to this audience and to solve this problem, this big problem. So what that means is that every project was helping us being known by this audience, and build an audience of people that would be interesting in the next solution that we build. So at every project we got like a higher assets, a bigger assets, which is our audience that was receptive to each one of our new products.
Yeah. Wow. It's so interesting. So you start, so normally, and with my projects, I have the idea and then I find the target customer. You do the opposite. You find the target customer first and then you build the product, right?
Yeah, and it all comes down to the fact that you need to understand that probably your first product, maybe the second one, will fail.
Right.
It's almost for sure. But what cannot fail is your audience and your targets. It just it's something that you can build and will for sure help you on the next product.
Right. So okay, so now you let's say you build, you have an audience, you have people actually paying for the product, and now I guess it's time to start developing the product further. So you decide, okay, this is the one, like you did with the Tweethunter. This is the one. How do you iterate over it?
So something that we did from day one on Tweethunter is, every time we have a new user, we personally wrote to him or her. Like
right. I got an email from him. Yes.
Yeah, and we do it on Twitter too. Like, we go to Twitter and we DM the person by hand, and it's not automatic, because we want to trigger real conversations with people. And that's how you get very interesting feedback, and you truly understand what people want to do. Something else is that what's really cool about Tweethunter is that Thomas and I, we are the first users of our own tool.
Right.
And this, it changes everything. Like we use it every day, and so we notice the little stuff that we want to improve, and that's actually something very very tricky to handle, because every time I go on Tweethunter, I want to use it and to tweet. I notice a small stuff, so I start coding, and then I don't tweet at all for all day.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think it's much easier if you are the first user of your own product, because then you are also part of the target customer, and it's much easier for you to empathize and understand the audience. So
yeah, exactly. And in my first startup, that was not the case. I was building something for parents, and I was not a parent. And I realize now the so many stuff that I didn't realize back then.
Yeah. And now it's great because you are giving these lessons for free here in the podcast for everyone, so that they don't have to go, through the same path. So I really appreciate that. And so you start speaking with all of your customers. And by the way, I didn't get the DM; I only got the email. So, but you start speaking with them, and they start giving you ideas. But the thing is, people are not trained product developers, right? So sometimes they can give you good ideas, sometimes they can give you bad ideas. How do you prioritize the ideas you want to work on?
That's a good point. I think most people, when they are talking to customers or users, they are expecting IDs, like feature IDs. They are basically asking, what feature would you like to see in the tool? And I think that's a wrong approach. What you really want to ask is, so what problem the tool is not solving? What pain do you still have when you use Tweethunter? And people can be wrong when they tell you about solutions and feature, but people cannot be wrong when they talk about their pain. This is just the truth. And then it's your job to find a feature that will help them solve their problem.
So what is the question again you ask?
I think I would ask, so when you use Tweethunter, is there anything that slowing you down on the process of writing tweets, or when you just don't find inspiration, what do you think is the problem here? Or something else is, so you use Tweethunter, and you told me that your account is not growing. What do you think is the main problem here?
Right. Yeah. Okay, makes total sense. And I don't know if this also happened for you, but for me, what I'm feeling with this podcast and with my climate change app is, from the start, I had users, and I have like constant daily users or daily listeners. And for instance, with this podcast now, I started, and I think every day I'm actually, by the way, publishing every day one episode, like narrating my journey and interviewing people. And every day I have listens, and but it seems that they are kind of stagnated. So they grew, and then now I have, like, let's say 40 listens per day, 40, sometimes 70, something like this. But now I don't know, how can I grow it further, because I have exhausted all my initial communities. I've exhausted Reddit and Hacker News, and now I'm growing Twitter to see if that works. But how do you? First of all, did this also happen to you in Tweethunter, that you stagnated?
Yes, it did, but I have to admit that I don't really understand why. There was some kind of plateau where the number of users just stagnated, and then the growth just triggered itself by its own. I wouldn't know what to advise here.
So what did you do there? First of all, did you freak out with this?
Yes, a little bit. Like when you have a 30% growth week over week, and then it stops during 1 week, you freak out a little bit. You just wonder, so did I do something wrong? I remember that I at one time, yes, there was something wrong. Like, it was very early on the product, but I introduced a bug, and people were not able to sign up anymore.
Okay.
But that's good. It's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah, it means that you just have to solve it, and then
exactly. Yeah. So I guess your advice would be to just keep on pushing
yeah,
until
exactly.
you.
So I think what's really important is staying consistent, especially with audience building. It's so important. Then just don't stop it. Continue, even if you believe that, or if you feel like you are talking to a wall. Building an audience is so important today that
Yeah.
just keep doing some quantity. Don't necessarily focus on quality. Release a
Okay.
lot of stuff, and then on the way you will figure out what's working and what people truly want.
Right. And Twitter, is it a good platform to build a community?
For myself, I think so, because I found there a big community of people that were willing to share their experience and that were willing to try new products.
Yeah.
I think so it's not released yet, but there is this huge partnership with a Twitter influencer that we will probably release by the end of September. And this has been done only with Twitter DMs. So I think you can
Yes.
find a huge value on Twitter.
Yeah. And I can tell you something as well from my side. So I interviewed, for instance, a YouTuber here, and he has like, I think, 100,000 subscribers, and I thought, wow, it's now like my podcast will have a lot of listeners, and then it didn't grow. Like I didn't have that much reach, and this kept on happening on YouTube and Instagram as well. And they shared it, by the way. They shared it on YouTube. They shared it on Instagram, and it didn't work out as much. And I was thinking, why is this not working? And now I decided to go through Twitter because I thought it's, I guess, easier for people. So if I tag you, for instance, and you retweeted, like the link is there, people can click on it. So I also think it might be better. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm focusing on Twitter.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have a bigger audience on Twitter if you are talking about how to be an entrepreneur.
Yes. And I've used DMs as well, for instance, to reach out to you and to reach out to a lot of other people that I'm interviewing now. So it's definitely good. What are your like tips to grow Twitter? Like no bots, no bullshit. What are like the real tips to grow Twitter?
So the number one tip is be here every day. Like be on Twitter every day.
Okay.
And, if you don't have fun being here, you will be exhausted in 2 months, and you will stop using it. So you need to have fun.
Yeah.
And then just talk with people. Talk like every time you see an interesting tweet, engage, answer to people, and also DM the author just by saying, hey, you did something nice here, I loved it.
Yeah.
This is a nice conversation starter, and it will just get you true connections. And you really need these true connections, because those true connections, they are the people that will like and retweet you, and then it will make your tweets take off.
Do you get addicted to Twitter though?
I did in the past, and I was spending hours on Twitter.
Yeah.
Now I think I have a more healthy relationship with Twitter.
Yeah.
Where I think I spend at least 1 hour on Twitter, but it's like a more controlled time,
So do you use like a scheduling tool to post every hour or something, so that you don't have to every time go to Twitter?
Yeah, exactly. I use Tweethunter actually, which does scheduling.
The paid version, right? I guess.
Exactly. So I have my routine where I'm not allowed to drink my early coffee if I'm not tweeting at the same time. So every day around 9, I just drink my coffee and tweet at the same time, and I do my 3 to 4 tweets.
And then you stop for the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I randomly check Twitter to see if there is any good tweet to engage with. This is
Yeah.
really important, and that's also something that Tweethunter can help you do. It can help you find relevant tweets to engage with.
Wow. Wow, you're selling it very well. I'm thinking that I should also go for the paid version. Yeah, to be honest, I felt also sickly addicted to Twitter just by trying to grow it every day for a week. And I even like compared it with, in if you, because this is also part of my job somehow. So it's like, as my job was to be a professional smoker, because I felt like really addicted, and I really believe that we should control it. But yeah, it's a great platform. One last question for you, Tibo. What are your biggest worries? What keeps you awake at night?
Yeah, so as soon as you get something that's working, you are afraid of losing it. And so that's the case for Tweethunter. It's the growth we're having is so crazy that I'm just afraid that we lose it all in one day. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's not rational. It's
Hmm.
probably not going to happen. But it's just something that keeps staying on my head.
Yeah. One thing that you cannot lose is the experience you had and the lessons you learned that also help you. Even if you lose this one, then you can start another one and another one. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of this with wannabe entrepreneurs. It was really a pleasure to have you here, and I will also link your projects, Tweethunter, in the description of this episode so that everyone can go and check it out, and they really should.
Thank you, Thiago. It was a pleasure to be here.
And this was the end of another episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. If you find this kind of content valuable and if you like it, there's many other interviews that you might enjoy in this podcast. So yeah, just check the older episodes and I'm sure you'll find something interesting for you. If you want to support this podcast, I don't do ads, so feel free to buy me a coffee. You can also become a Wannabe Entrepreneur member for €4 a month, and you get access to some prime content, plus to the Wannabe Entrepreneur Slack channel, where other entrepreneurs, most of them that I interviewed here, are, and you can find some mentorship there. I hope you had a great time. See you tomorrow.